yagnascha yathaya samsita vartaha dharvya yagnastapo yagna yoga yagnastapaha para swadhyaya jnana yagnascha yathaya samsita vartaha. Someone else? Dharvas yagnastapo yagna yoga yagnastapahare swadhyaya yagnasjanascha yathaya samsita varta yoga yagyastapare swadhyaya yagnascha Mataji Varya yagnastapo yagnas yoga yagnastapare swadhyaya yagnascha Varya yagnastapo yagna yoga yagnastapare yoga yagyastapare swadhyaya jnana yagnascha yathaya samsita varta dharvya yagna sacrificing one's possessions. Tapo yagnas sacrificing in austerity. Yoga yagna sacrifice in eightfold mysticism. Tatha thus, apare others. Swadhyaya sacrifice in the study of the Vedas. Jnana yagna sacrifice in advancement of transcendental knowledge. Cha yathaya enlightened. Samsita taken to strict. Varata vows. Translation. There are others who, enlightened by sacrificing their material possessions in service, austerities, take strict vows and practice the yoga of eightfold mysticism. And others study the Vedas for the advancement of transcendental knowledge. Purport. These sacrifices may be fitted into various divisions. There are persons who are sacrificing their possessions in the forms of various kinds of charities. In India, the rich mercantile community or princely orders open various kinds of charitable institutions like dharmshalas, anakshetra, atitha sala, anathayala, vidyapita, etc. In other countries too, there are many hospitals, old age homes, and similar charitable foundations meant for distributing food, education, and medical treatment free to the poor. All of these charitable activities are called Dvayamanaya Yagna. There are others who, for higher elevation in life or for promotion to higher planets within the universe, voluntarily accept many kinds of austerities, such as Chadrayana and Chaturmas. These processes entail severe vows for conditioning life under certain rigid rules. For example, under Chaturmas vows, the candidate does not shave for 4 months during the year, months July to October. He does not eat certain foods, does not eat twice in a day, and does not leave home. Such sacrifices of the comforts of life is called Tapomaya Yagna. Of the comforts of there are still others who engage themselves in different kinds of mystic yoga, like Patanjala system, for merging into the existence of the Absolute, or Hatha Yoga, Astanga Yoga, for particular perfections. And some travel to all the sanctified places of pilgrimage. All these practices are called Yoga Yajna, sacrifice for a certain type of perfection in the material world. There are others who engage themselves in the study of different Vedic literatures, specifically the Upanishads and the Vedanta Sutras, or Sankhya philosophy. All of these are called Swadhyaya Yajna, or engagement in the sacrifice of study. All these yogis are faithfully engaged in different types of sacrifices and are seeking a higher status of life. Krishna consciousness is, however, different from these because it is a direct service of the Supreme Lord. Krishna consciousness cannot be attained by any one of the above-mentioned types of sacrifices, but can be attained only by the mercy of the Lord and His bona fide devotee. Therefore, Krishna consciousness is transcendental. Om Jnana Chanurandasha Jnana Jnana Salikaya Chaksusum Melikam Jnana Ajmahi Shri Gurave Namaha Shishikana Marubhi Samsrapitam Jnana Rupe Swayam Upakiramaya Paramkrisam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatavati Kamala Shri Guru Vaishnavansham Shri Rupam Sadhurajati Sadhana Namita Shri Vishikami Kamsa Nama Om Vishnu Vadaya Krishna Prasthaya Utale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Ashkataya Sakari. So the word transcendental, according to Webster's dictionary, is described as the soul being different than the body. And in this chapter, they are describing many types of yoga. So yoga, the translation for yoga means to yoke or to connect or link oneself with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in this chapter already, Krishna has made some points very, very clear. First, Bhagavad Gita 4:9, he says that one who understands the transcendental nature of my appearances in this material world does not take birth again. So why does Krishna, who is situated in his transcendental abode, where everything is very opulent, peaceful, and everyone in that abode are 100% fully engaged in his service. So why does he come to this material world? He comes to, one, annihilate the miscreants, and two, to impart again transcendental knowledge. That knowledge that can deliver the conditioned souls from the clutches of material energy and lead them on the path of going back home, back to Godhead. He then says that being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me, and by taking refuge in me, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they attained transcendental love for me. This is Bhagavad Gita 4:10. So we know that these qualities of fear and anger, they are products of the three modes of material nature: lust, ignorance, and so forth, such as this. But for those who can learn to become free from these impulses, it's very easy for someone to become angry. In just the snap of your fingers, you can become violently angry. It's described also that a lifetime of friendship can be destroyed or ruined by just one moment of anger. So Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, all of these qualities, they are disrupting our ability to focus and concentrate on the transcendental qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Krishna is telling us here that by taking refuge in me, what does that mean? Taking refuge in me, meaning to surrender to Him. How do we surrender to Krishna? It's very easy. The process of surrender is described very descriptively in this book here, the Bhagavad Gita. And it's also said that in the past there have been many people who have succeeded in this process. Who can name one person who succeeded in surrendering? Srila Prabhupada. That's right. And what did Srila Prabhupada do? He took compassion on the sufferings of all of the conditioned souls in this material world, and he started the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. He gave us again this transcendental knowledge. So this process, this Bhagavad Gita by itself, was spoken first to Vivashwan, the sun god, and then he in turn spoke it to Ishakku. And this knowledge, not by having it in the form of a book, but simply by recitation, was passed down from saintly kings to saintly kings. But in a due course, as with many things, this science of self-realization was lost, and therefore, what does it say? The Lord will descend in His original form to re-establish these principles of self-realization. So he also continued in this chapter, such a man of understanding acts with mind and intelligence, perfectly controlled, gives up all proprietorship over possessions, and acts only for the bare necessities of life. Thus working, he is not affected by sinful reactions. So here he's making a distinction. There's the mind and there's the intelligence. And less than the mind and the intelligence are the gross senses, the physical body. But when one learns detachment from material possessions, then his intelligence is freed up and he's able to concentrate more on the real prime purpose of this human form of life, and that is to go back home, back to Godhead. So by doing this, Krishna says that one can attain transcendental love for me. So in this material world, there is different type of love. Love is manifested in paternal love, fraternal love, passive love, and conjugal love. So what do these mean? Paternal love is the love that a parent has for their child or their children. We can see that even a mother or a father with the most hideous looking baby alive will hold and coddle the baby and nurture. That love is there. Passive love is when we express our feelings for some inanimate object. If you love mangoes, or you love the feel of the sunshine on your face, this is the passive love. Fraternal love is friendship. So I have a friend, we have been buddies from our very young age. So this type of love also exists. And conjugal love is the love between a man and a woman. But in the material conception, all of these loves are temporary. There are so many instances where a parent has a child, and as that child is growing, the love decreases, and it can turn into bitter hatred, where mother and son or father and daughter never ever speak to each other again. So in my case it was like that. I was the black sheep in the family, becoming a member of Hare Krishna, taking drugs, being the first hippie in my town. So immediately, for 30 years, no one in my family would speak to me. So when I was young, my mother loved me. She would hold me in her arms, but her love turned to hatred. And my father, his love was less, but his hatred for me was even more, because he was envious of anything that I could do better than him. So these types of loves will change, and it's better not to get too deeply involved in any one of these types of love. So Krishna also said that as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects. So we know that everything in the material creation and also in the spiritual creation is the property of Krishna. So surrendering to Krishna means that we recognize that He is the creator of everything in our world. And instead of having this philosophy of I and mine, we understand that these are Krishna's possessions and they should be utilized to satisfy Him. This is what is called bhakti, or bhakti yoga, where one takes things and instead of trying to usurp the property of its proper owner, recognizes where it has come from, and as a sacrifice gives it back to the proper owner, and that's Krishna. So we can see in society that there are so many charitable institutions. Prabhupada talked about this in the purport. And their purpose is to give aid or food or assistance to those that are needy, the poor, the hungry, and so forth. But they always have an ulterior motive for doing these types of things. This is called pratistha. I will give in charity, I will donate some of my wealth, but in return they will make a plaque and put it on the side of a building with my name in bold letters, and every day when I walk by I can glance and see my name written forever on that brass plaque. So this motivation for giving in charity, this is charity in the mode of goodness. There are other types of charity also. Charity in the mode of ignorance. If I'm smoking and you say, "Hey buddy, you have an extra cigarette?" "Oh sure, here, go ahead, take a cigarette." I'm giving you charity, but what type of charity is this? There are organizations in the United States, and I believe also in Holland, where because there's an epidemic of drug addicts, they will go onto the streets and give them free needles in order to inject their drugs into their arms, because they don't want these people to share the needle with other people, because this is a way of spreading disease, sickness, such as that. So all of these types of charities, sacrificing our possessions for the benefit of others, they fall into the category of karma kanda. If one gives food and clothing, this is called Dharvya Yagya. But it only becomes sanctified when it is dovetailed into Krishna consciousness. So we know that we have in many countries, many cities, our Food for Life program. This all began in Mayapur. One day we were standing in one of the far rooms of the Lotus building, and Prabhupada looked out at the rice paddies, and he said that not one person within 10 miles of this temple should go hungry. So from that point we started the first Food for Life program in Mayapur by buying or making huge woks, big pots, and cooking khichdi, a simple food, nourishing. And the first day maybe 100 people came, and the second day there was 500 people, and then on the third, fourth, fifth, and days following that there were a few thousand people coming to get prasadam, to get this Food for Life. We even had to employ chokidars to beat the people in order for them to sit down peacefully, because they were ready to charge up to the pots and dive into the pots to get this type of food. But this is dovetailing charity. Other types of charity may provide us with material benefits. We know that we can take birth in a rich or an aristocratic family. We may be blessed with a beautiful body. We have all facilities for sense enjoyment. we get a higher education, but Narottama Das Thakur says that although I get my birth in a good family, there's still a chance of degradation. If we are rich, there's always a chance to become associated with bad company. So we've also seen so many people who have abundance of wealth. They want to enjoy, they want to satiate their senses. And so they have the means by which they can enjoy the fruits of this material world. So what do? They start off by maybe smoking a little marijuana, and then they advance and try cocaine or this or that, or drink with their friends socially, but every day socially drinking, they become addicted. And many of these have lost their fortunes and their statuses in society due to these bad habits and bad association. But for people to give in charity, they must have the means by which they can give. If I'm a poor man, I have nothing. What can I give? How can I give in charity? Only those who have some wealth, they can give in charity. So Vaishnavas do not necessarily approve of these types of pious activities. We should simply be concerned with Krishna consciousness and always serving Krishna. So we have examples of personalities like Haridas Thakur, who was born into a Muslim family, but each day he would chant 300,000 names of the Lord. And also the 6 Goswamis, who were personally instructed by Lord Chaitanya. They gave to society the richest treasures imaginable, all the literatures and instructions on this process of self-realization. So in Bhakti Yoga or in the Sankirtan movement, there is no need really for money in order to give, but that giving must be to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we have the ability to give what we know about Krishna. We can all give the holy name to other suffering living entities and encourage them to chant. There was a story in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu about a very poor devotee who wanted to serve the Lord. He had visions of performing such wonderful archana to the Lord, but he had no money in which to buy what was necessary in order to serve the Lord. So he was depressed. He felt unfulfilled within his heart. But one day, he was sitting in on a Bhagavatam class, and he heard the speaker say that you can serve the Lord in your mind by just simply thinking of me. What does Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita in an earlier part of this book? He says, always think of me, become my devotee, worship me. So thinking of Krishna, this is also devotional service. So this poor devotee said, I'm going to give this a try. So he would go to the I believe it was the Govardhani River, and take his bath, and then he would sit down on the bank of the river, and he would meditate on first bathing the Lord with waters from all of the holy rivers in India. And then after bathing him, drying him nicely, he would dress him in such beautiful clothing, the most opulent and beautiful garments that one can imagine, and always with a crown of jewels and gold he would put on the Lord's head. And the Lord looked so nice and beautiful, and he had to feed the Lord. And so in his mind he would cook such opulent foods, prepare them every day for the Lord. Samosas, kachoris, all of the most delicious foods that one can imagine. And on one occasion he wanted to prepare sweet rice for the Lord. And as we know, or we should know, that sweet rice must be served cold. Most of the time when you go to a function, they give you sweet rice and it's hot, just right off of the stove. But the colder the sweet rice, the more delicious it becomes. So he was very concerned that his sweet rice had not cooled enough in order to feed the Lord. So what did he do? He stuck his finger into the rice and burned his finger. So this burning sensation broke his meditation. And he looked around and he saw nothing. There was no Lord. There was no fine deity dressed in beautiful garments. There was no opulent foodstuffs. But when he looked at his finger was burned. So in the Vaikuntha planet, Lord Vishnu, he was chuckling. He was laughing a bit like this. And Lakshmi was very interested in why the Lord was behaving in such a way. She said, why are you laughing like this? And he told her that, one of my devotees, he is worshiping me in his mind, and he has taken this type of service very, very seriously. So therefore, I want my assistants to go to him immediately and bring him to me. So this poor devotee achieved the highest reward for his Manu Seva, thinking of the Lord within his mind constantly, just by offering him food, dressing him nicely. This does not mean that if we have means, we should simply say, okay, I'm going to worship the Lord in my mind. Yeah, I'm not going to spend any of my money on him. I'll keep it for myself, but I'll give him so many things in my mind. No. According to one's means, one must worship the Lord in that respect. So there are so many devotees here. They have meager means, but in their homes they have a deity, or they have Govardhan, Shila, and when you see their deities, they're all very magnificent. They are beautiful because they are taking what means they have and they are giving them back to the Supreme Lord. They are giving to Him. They are dressing Him nicely. They are worshiping Him daily. And the Lord appreciates this. It's not that the Lord is sitting there thinking, I want you to give me this, I want you to give me that. No. He says, Patram Pushpam Toyam Phalam, that if you offer with what? Love and devotion, a fruit, a flower, a leaf, I will accept this. Krishna is Atmarama, he is self-satisfied. And he does not need anything, because in reality, everything is his property to begin with. So, the highest form of yajna is this Sankirtan movement. And it can be performed by anybody, no matter what status they are in life, how rich or how poor. Everybody can chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and if you don't have the means, you can worship the Lord in your mind. Or if you are wealthy, you can physically install beautiful deities in your home and dress them in garments that are only befit for the Supreme Lord. There are many rich Indians who, out of custom, will have a temple in their home, but their deities are not worshipped. They are shabbily dressed. They are not bathed regularly. So they are no better than just a doll sitting on the shelf collecting dust. But the true devotee will put their heart and their soul into worshipping with whatever they have, giving everything, their life, their breath, their entire being back to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So these other types of charities, these other types of yoga or yajnas that were talked about in the sloka and in the purport, they are meaningless because they will not fulfill the true and proper purpose of yajna. And that is the title of this chapter, Transcendental Knowledge. Knowing the difference between the body and the spirit, and accelerating your love for God. And Lord Chaitanya, he so mercifully came and he gave us this Sankirtan movement, and he showed us by his example that if we simply engage in chanting the holy name of the Lord, we all know that if there is a loved one and we sing a ballad of love using the name of that beloved person, this makes them feel very good. So when we sing Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna is sitting there like this. Yes, that's very nice. They are my devotees. Thank you very much. Is there any questions? Complaints?